Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being patient while we waited for all of our dignitaries to arrive. Tonight is our reorganization meeting. It's when our trustees who've been elected in the fall are sworn in. We have a giant studio audience. It's full of fantastic, fun kids who've come to see what it looks like to get sworn in local government. So trustees Woods and Bosey will be getting sworn in tonight, and joining us is the village's Associate Justice, Camille Linson. So you two want to make your way down. We have a constitution they're going to sign themselves in on, or sign themselves in, swear themselves in with.
And will you be signing the oath at the same time?
The book has been signed.
The book has been
Yeah.
signed, great. Okay. Lauren, will you go first? They can be on my left? Sure. All right.
All right.
All right, Ms. Bosey, if you would please place your left hand on the Constitution and raise your right hand and swear after me. I, Laura Bosey, do solemnly swear
I, Laura Bosey, do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to fulfill the duties
and to fulfill the duties
of the office of trustee of the Village of Cold Spring
and fulfill the office of trustee of the Village of Cold Spring
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Guys, thanks everyone.
Please place your left hand on the Constitution, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, Tweets Phillips Woods, do solemnly swear
I, Tweets Phillips Woods, do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
to
uphold the Constitution
uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to perform the duties
and to perform the duties
of trustee of the Village of Cold Spring
of trustee of the Village of Cold Spring
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
I'd like to say to address all of you before our meeting.
So I'm so grateful that you guys came. It was really important to me that the little ones, yes, and puppy, come and see government in action. Someday you will have the choice to do this kind of work and decide whether you're going to volunteer and get involved. And I hope that this is a moment that you think back on, you think, that looks cool. I want to do that because we're going to need you to fill in our seats at some point soon. And it's an important job. So thank you to the little ones. I mean, the little people, especially we're in this room tonight to see this and to join me and my family and our amazing board of trustees. It means a lot to me, and I hope that this is a moment that in a couple of years you think back on and it inspires you. So thank you.
Now we want to take pictures, so.
Come up, yeah.
Me?
Yeah. We should take pictures.
Oh, they're ready.
They're like,
Tweets for the kids, thank you.
for the little peeps.
Tips for the little people.
Some people who are almost as tall as I am.
Nunca posso ficar mal, mas.
No.
Hey, look, you're on TV. You gotta smile for the people. I can see you.
Yay, say tweets for the peeps.
Yes.
I know, this
It auto focuses, so.
Thank you. All right, guys. All right, guys, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Bert, we need your mom to get to work.
That's right. Next up. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, so now we're back to a more normally sized audience in the room. And I want to let the folks online know, when it rains, we have an unstable connection. If we lose you, I'll have to wait for this person to be let in, start again. Hi, a couple people just joining us. We've just done the swearing in for trustees Bosey and Woods. I just want to let the people online know that we have an unstable connection in this storm, so we may drop. If we do, however, Zoom will keep recording and the full recording will be available online tomorrow, so you'll be able to see what you missed. And I apologize in advance if we drop out. Okay, so our first portion of the agenda relates to the reorganization. This is an annual affair in the village when we make appointments and name official institutions, etc. The first item is resident appointments. I make a motion to appoint Ann Bouchard as registrar for a one-year term. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we have a series of non-resident appointments, folks who live outside the village but hold positions within. I make a motion to, Greg Clerk, may I ask you, can I read down the list or do I need to do each one?
You can read
individually?
down the list, unless there's discussion on
Any
one.
discussion that anyone wants to have? Does anyone have any objection to going down the list that way?
No.
Okay, so I make a motion to appoint the following. Greg Henson as village clerk treasurer, Kelly Apology as deputy clerk, Abigail McKinney as deputy clerk, Matt Krug as water and wastewater superintendent for a one-year term, Matt Jackson as officer in charge, Cold Spring Police Department for a one-year term, and Camille Linson, who's just left us, as acting justice for a one-year term.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is appointment of village council. Make a motion to appoint, to continue with John First of Catania, Mahan and Ryder.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we have a few appointments that are required under New York State Village Law, General Municipal Law. That's naming a deputy mayor. I make the following motion. Deputy Mayor Treats Woods, Budget Officer me, Catherine Foley, is required to be the mayor. The Board of Water Commissioners is the entire board as per chapter 130, our water chapter. Make a motion for the audit committee to be Laura Bosey and Trustee Woods, and for insurance and risk management to be Laura Bosey and Trustee Woods. Discussion. I have a second. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Areas of responsibility. This isn't a vote. This is just these are assignments made at the discretion of the mayor. When we took office, several of us took office. I guess now it's the three of us in 2021. We identified areas of work and leads in those areas of work. And those are Office of Mayor and the Clerk, me and Trustee Woods, Technology, me and Trustee Frymark, Budget and Financial Management, me and Trustee Woods, Emergency Management and Public Safety, me and Trustee Woods. Water and Wastewater, me and Laura Bosey. Roadways and Facilities, me and Trustee Woods. Zoning and Land Use, me and Trustee Bosey. Pedestrian Safety, Parking and Traffic, Trustee Bosey and Trustee Starbuck. Parks and Rec, Community Events and Tourism, me and Trustee Woods. We all work on these topics, of course, but those are the leads in the areas. Moving on to policies, these we have to adopt under general municipal law, where we identify contacts for a variety of policies for our employees. In the case of four of these, I am the primary contact and Deputy Mayor Woods is the alternate. I make a motion for that related to the Equal Employment Officer, Workplace Violence Contact, Sexual Harassment Prevention, and the ADA Compliance Officer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and next is adopting our procurement and investment policies as per the trustee handbook and chapter 26 of the village code. I make that motion.
86, chapter 86?
86 is procurement, is it not?
I thought you said 26. I'm sorry.
Oh, did I say 26? I'm sorry. My eyes saw 86. I'm sorry, I said 26. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ethics policy per village code chapter 9. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And meetings, establish our monthly business meeting on the second Wednesday, that's tonight, of each month at 7 PM. Workshops on the first, third, and fourth Wednesdays as needed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agendas to be set as per the trustee handbook, and general procedures for calling special meetings and guidelines for public comment as per the trustee handbook. That's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, acceptance of fee schedule. There are no changes this evening. The next round of changes will be related to STR determinations and then based on Trustee Primark's work on films. So tonight it is unchanged and we are accepting it as is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Naming of official depository. Our accounts are with M&T Bank. I'd like to continue to be there.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, M&T Bank authorized signatories. There is one change here, with Trustee Starbuck coming off audit and you going on, Laura. Two changes, our new clerk, and Laura bringing you on as a signatory, as backup signatory. So I would make a motion for Greg Henson, myself, Trustee Woods, and Trustee Bosey to be authorized signatories at M&T Bank.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So Laura, you'll need to do paperwork with Greg. Naming of official newspaper. We only have one newspaper that qualifies under New York State law as a paper of record. That's the PCNR. So we don't have an option officially. We need to accept the PCNR. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And in recognition of the reduced circulation of the PCNR and the wide audience of the current, I would like us to continue as we have, naming the current as an additional official newspaper where we can currently run public notices. Any objection?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're welcome, Mike. You didn't even ask this year. We just went ahead and did it. Appointments to standing boards. I have to go to a second sheet for this. Okay, on the Recreation Commission, I make a motion to appoint Jeff Amato as chair for a 1-year term and Matt DeGraff for a 5-year term. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I did that backwards. Planning Board, appointment of chair for 1-year term, Jesse St. Charles. Thank you very much for continuing. And appointment of a member to a 5-year term, Henry Feldman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Historic District Review Board, Al Zielinski wishes to continue as chair for a 1-year appointment. So I'll make a motion on that.
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
And just so that you all know structurally, the boards can identify officers of their own. And Wallace Hall has agreed to continue as vice chair after the completion of Sean Conway's, I think, 3rd 5-year term. So it's not for us to approve, but just letting you know. And they are searching for an additional member to replace Sean. His are big shoes to fill. But if you have interest, or professional background in historic preservation and are interested in involving for the village, we could use some good brains here. So please be in touch with our clerk, bcsclerk@coldspringny.gov. Zoning Board of Appeals. I would make a motion to appoint Eric Worth as chair for a 1-year term and John Martin to a 5-year term.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tree Advisory Board, make a motion to appoint Jen Zwarek to the chairmanship for 1 year, and 2 members are up for 3-year terms, Jen Zwarek and Tony Bartis. In favor?
Aye.
Okay, and thank you to everyone who serves on our boards. These are entirely volunteer positions that require a lot of time, and brain power. They're unpaid, and they do a great service to the village and to the public. Give up their time to train and to serve and to meet with applicants, et cetera, and we're grateful for all of them. With that, we are finished with the reorganization and can move on to the monthly meeting agenda.
Efficient,
Very, that's definitely there.
except for the start.
Yeah. Okay, so, announcements. I have no announcements. Does anyone have any news to announce that the public should know?
No.
Just to say for all of you who are fretting about the rain, we are monitoring the rainfall. The pumps are, ready to be in place if you need them on Cedar Street, and that the crews are actually in the woods now checking on levels. So we are mindful of the water coming down.
Thing.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Sales of resident parking permits for 2025 have gone live. There is a link on the website, as well as notification went out to all members who are signed up for updates. So sign up for those updates and sign up for the 2025 resident parking permit if you live in the resident parking zone.
The due date for purchasing of a permit, is it like January?
Permits become active on January 1st.
Thank you for setting up the automated system for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's work.
so much
Very
easier.
So quick.
It has been working really well too.
And to add, Greg also worked with the officer in charge on making the permit stickers more visible. This year's stickers will go on the outside of the car and they have a reflective paper so that they'll be easy to see for drivers going by and also for the enforcement officers.
Great.
So big improvement. Thank you very much. Okay, opportunity to request a vote to add or modify an agenda item. I have none. Anyone else?
No.
Moving on to reports from village departments. So all of these reports are available in full on the village website. We don't read them all into the record. We're just going to choose highlights from each, and then if you have deeper interest to pursue further, you can do so online. Can you help me as we go keep track of who's? I'm not sure. I think just Bugsy's here tonight.
Just Bugsy so far.
So Michelle is unable to join us tonight, but what she,
You wanna give them?
Yeah, that one. Venus.
that way we can see who we have. Okay, so financial highlights. Michelle will be talking about budget transfers in the next meeting, but what she wanted me to highlight very much tonight is we have a super favorable shift in healthcare for our employees and our retirees. The last 3 years, premiums increased between 9 and 15% for employees and upwards of 25% for some of the retirees. This year, the January rate increase for current employees is 0.3%, between 0.3% and 0.23%. And for retirees, 0.5 up to 10%. So that's going to result in a big budget savings, which is very good for us.
And I'm halfway through the fiscal year.
Say that again?
We're halfway through the
And we're
fiscal.
halfway through the fiscal year. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, she'll be doing her quarter report next month. Roadways and facilities, I think Bugsy was with us. Are you still? No, okay, so just a few things. Thank you to the Putnam County Highway Department for loaning the bucket truck and helping us get the seasonal reeds up. Bugsy and his team were able to, in the really dry season that we had until yesterday, They were able to repair 30 feet of the Back Brook retaining wall structure down at the north end near Northern, which has created flooding problems for a couple of the houses on the end there. And so we hope that's going to be an improvement there. And he and his crew also dug 27 holes for tree planting around the village. And they made some improvements to heavy pedestrian intersections with new painted stop bars and reflective panels on the stop signs themselves at Mountain Avenue and Northern Avenue. But those are good things. Water and wastewater. It's really striking to look at where we were in November 2023 versus now, November 2024. When Matt did his report, we were at 62.4%. Last year, we were at 100%. However, with the last few days, I think he did this Friday, right? So we were at 62.14 Friday. Now we are at 64.58. He has asked to stay in stage 2 water emergency, however, until we're up to 70%. So we just have a chance for the reservoirs to recover. Any objection? Okay. And they, on the wastewater side, have done a number of residential lateral repairs on Main and Church Street this month.
I would just say, I mean, I think we took our best guess at what levels the different, we created these new stages for the water emergencies, and we took our best guess at what those should be. Through experience, we may find that we need to make them even more conservative. I mean, so.
Well, it wasn't out there. You did research on what other municipalities
Yeah,
said.
but, I think we just watch it. Yeah, keep asking
Yeah,
Matt
I
what makes sense.
think it would be very interesting to understand, like, when we're in a water emergency and not, how it changes demand. To see if it's working, right? I mean, that's the intention, right? That people use less water when there's a water emergency. We should be able to measure that, yes?
Well, Matt reports that through this stage 2 emergency, while we have not received more rain, we did not drop significantly below 60%. So conservation measures were helping. But it'd be interesting to do that from a data perspective, like we did when we were establishing that, and you did it as a volunteer at the time, the water usage chart.
Or the rest of it, like, suggested some colors.
The colors were amazing. Code enforcement, I have no report, but I just want to let everyone know we have received a number of complaints about a particular sign on Main Street. It is being pursued through code enforcement, and we expect modification in the not too distant future, but we are aware. So thank you very much for all of us who let us know. We do have the officer in charge with us to give the Cold Spring Police Department report.
Here, so for the month of November, the police department answered 155 calls for service. Majority of those calls were motor vehicle accidents, and most of them were due to inattentive drivers. Pay attention when you're out there driving around in those cars. Some of them were due to hazardous conditions on the roadway, a few animals, and a lot of trees coming down. There was a few that were on the radio just before I came down. Something that I wanted to bring up is a little program that we've been working on with the hub. I don't know if any of you know that the hub now has a new building on Route 9, Suite 109. And myself and EMS through the hub have been working on a program called the You Matter program. We're putting it in place to help people that may have mental health issues and don't necessarily know how to get those resources. Through my time here, I noticed that there have been a lot of people with mental health situations where they need help, they're not getting the help that they need. So through this program, people are able to sign up to request that someone check in on them every once in a while. So not all the time. A lot of people don't want to call for help, but once in a while, they may want a phone call, somebody checking in on them. So we're gonna be doing, the officers are going to be taking training on this along with the EMS. And we're gonna be working with the local hospitals on distributing material to people who, may be in a certain situation where they need additional help post-discharge from the hospital, which we found that a lot of times, these people weren't being pointed in the right direction. They left the hospital and didn't know where to go or what to do. So, we all got together and just started firing out ideas on what we can do for people. And this is the program that they came up with. So the hub is there to support anybody that needs it for a bunch of different things. And, I'm looking forward to going up there and checking out their building, their new place. I was unable to make it, had some health issues going on, but I look forward to going up there and expanding on this program and getting the officers some training on what to do in these types of situations, because each situation is different. They're not all the same.
Yeah.
And to provide, and for us to know, me specifically, to know that once we leave that call, we know that there's going to be a follow-up with these individuals. So they're not just, here you go, you're going to the hospital, and then we have no idea if they're being taken care of after that, which is, I think, is rather important.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah. This is what we had hoped for. A
Yes.
version of this when we went in with the hub, their grant a couple of years ago, and it's finally, it's coming to fruition, and I'm really pleased about it.
It's been a difficult process on trying to figure out how to do it. It's a voluntary program, so whoever it may be, if they need some sort of help or they're looking for some sort of help, they can contact the hub. We will also have information at some point to provide to these people, like I said, in the ambulance when we get there, for whatever reason. And, if it's something that they choose to do, the hub will be there to follow up on that and give them the help that they need.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions for Jackson? Thank you. On trees, when you go through a dry season, trees uproot pretty easily.
They do.
So
Trees have, I'm not getting
be
into it.
watchful in the wind tonight. Cold Spring Fire Company, Chief not able to join us tonight, but he asked that we emphasize during the holiday season that more than 1 in 5 Christmas tree fires were caused when the tree was placed too close to a heat source. So please make sure that your tree is at least 3 feet away from fireplaces, radiators, and space heaters, and make sure you read the manufacturer's instructions for the number of light strands that should be connected. I also want to point out that they, the fire company's been doing all sorts of good work, but they did go in mutual aid to a North Highlands call for a garbage truck on fire, like a literal dumpster fire. And apparently pretty hideous. You don't know what's in a fire truck and what might react in what way to flame. So thank you to everyone who ensured that was taken care of. What a mess. Justice Court. 16, the month of November, 16 defendants and 18 charges. Total income for the Justice Court, sorry, 20, I'm hungry, sorry, 28,582. That does include parking tickets coming in from previous months, and Aaron and Michelle and the court clerk and I are going to be talking about pulling
Some
out
data
how to
on-
experiment.
On parking, yeah.
Some data on parking. Okay, on to reports from our standing boards and committees. Do we have anybody with us from HDRB? So what I want to pull out from this is the memo from Lauren, yes, Hall.
I'm here, guys.
Oh, you are? Oh, hi.
Yes, hi.
Why don't you talk us through, first of all, congratulations, and thank you for stepping up as vice chair.
Oh, thank you. So yes, big shoes to fill with Sean leaving.
You're up for it.
So, okay, so let's see, we did for 3 Cherry Street, we approved an application for a new rooftop solar array on a single family residential building. The application was missing key information and we tabled it until later. We also approved 24 Fair Street. We approved an application to replace a slate we reviewed an application to replace a slate roof on the rectory of Our Lady of Loretto. They're proposing an asphalt architectural shingle. We have discussed our concerns for a material change on a significant public building. And we are postponing the hearing until December. Other news, let's see. We would also like to change our schedule. We have discussed moving from the first Tuesday of the month to the third Tuesday of the month so that we have more time to review applications. And we've talked with all the other boards and we submitted a draft schedule to you guys. So we're hoping to just get right on that starting in January.
I think that's great because it's ultimately it conserves everyone's time in the end because the applicants are coming in. You're fully prepared and so are they.
Yes, that's the
I
idea.
actually think the board needs to approve this. You're just letting us know.
We're letting you know, just because we're all sharing the space.
Work schedule wise, and you'll be in the big room and the tree board will be in the small room at the same time.
Yes.
Great. I thank you for creating that efficiency, and it's a much longer time to review, which I think is good for everybody. Any questions for Lauren?
Thank you.
No, thank you for stepping up.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I didn't see a report from the planning board. Is Jesse online?
Oh, there is one.
Hi. Oh, good. Now we do. One meeting. Okay, so the planning board has in front of it a proposal for an accessory dwelling unit on Parrot. A lot of public interest in that and a lot of interest in our discussion about short-term rentals and accessory dwelling units. That continues. Thank you. Zoning board, they are in process of looking at a proposal on 8 Depot Square. It's been continued. I want to thank both the planning board and the zoning board for discussing and submitting updates for the zoning code based on their use in the last year. We need to coordinate together, but I'm grateful that they took the time to do that.
I'm sorry, can I just go back to the planning board? Do we know, is this a proposed detached or attached ADU?
Detached,
Okay.
over a garage.
Okay, thank you.
Rec commission, I just thank you very much to the rec commission for working on the tree lighting. It was really fun. There were loads of kids there the other night. It was cold and wintry feeling the day before and then really warm on that day. It was super. So thank you to Hudson House for providing snacks and the Girl Scouts for providing carols, and let's see, the rec commission for pulling off the event, fire company for bringing Santa, and wrapping all of that into a really great weekend of a glow. Main Street looked beautiful. It was really windy Friday night, but it sounds like Saturday night had some good turnout. Yeah. Just quickly, the Lillian and our events coordinator, Lillian Mosier, and the clerk and the chair, I think the chair is engaged too in that conversation, are working on consolidating the recreation applications into a single one. So many versions of things going around, so thank you for that effort. Everybody, we have no municipal partner. I think town board is in session tonight, and I think legislator Montgomery might be in session tonight too, right? She's not online? Okay. Trustee reports. Anyone have anything they need us to know about? You're working on the EV charger.
Yeah, I wasn't here last month, so maybe I can give an update on a few things, so one up to date. So EV charger, we're looking at the municipal lot. We don't know where the underground lines are, water and sewer lines, but found a company that could map it for us. So just looking at if there's budget for that, that's kind of the only way that we can move this taking far too long project forward. So I hope that we can find some budget.
We have site plan drawings, but
It's
you know,
not
as built doesn't always match what was planned. Yeah.
So that is hopefully have more news sometime soon. Things are going well, looking at energy efficiency improvements at Village Hall, another one of our grants. We have a really good contractor And so I'm hopeful that that will move forward and will make some other, it will, I think, benefit the building in other ways in addition to making it, more energy efficient. I think it'll just like improve air quality and things. So I think that's good. So not grants, the food scrap collection down on Kemble, super popular. It fills up really early. And we had actually only agreed, we had set an intermunicipal agreement with the town that ended this month. But we have the funding through some good working with Michelle on using our grants to continue it to the end of the fiscal year. And then we could decide whether we want to put it into the budget, which I hope we would. There's plenty of people are asking for us to expand it, but we need to talk through that because it's so popular. Expand the
What part of it?
capacity of it. It fills up, I've heard, by like lunchtime on the
Oh, on the
day
day
of
of drop off?
on the day of drop off. But we want to talk through that. So I think it would be a quick agenda item, but it would be good to discuss maybe in January. If that's
Do we need a new, if our agreement with the town ended this month, do we need
Yeah,
a new agreement for
I-
them to do pickup?
I think functionally, we have a good, I need to look at it to know, like, letter of the law, what we need to do. We have the kind of working agreement, to keep going.
Okay.
But I'll look at the IMA and see if we actually need to do something of an amendment. Okay, to it, but that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up now. So I'll look at it and report back. Yeah, so those are kind of some of the projects to have more news soon. Okay. Anybody else?
Today I worked on getting together, sort of compiling the complete streets comments with, was it NIMTIC comments with, Officer Jackson's comments, but taking all of the, sort of main corridors so that we can compile like the recommendations that came out of all those studies, and discuss it as a board. So I pass it to Laura. Hopefully we'll have a draft to share by the end of the week or early next week, so we can move that forward.
Awesome. And on NIMTIC, I know there are folks in the public who are waiting to see it. We have submitted board comments. They are making edits. Barbara Barossa, the planning commissioner, submitted some edits as well, so we're waiting to see it again. We did connect, you had requested pedestrian trails through Scenic Hudson be included in our pedestrian network. So Scenic Hudson, I connected them to the NIMTIC planner, so hopefully that will get taken care of too. I have just a couple quick things, unless, you good?
Well, just a quick update. You had mentioned it before, but just to be a little more clear. So we are planning on, I've been working on a parking update for the fall to complement what we did in the spring, and show how that's changed, especially since we made modifications to the parking plan. That we're just making sure we are able to explain all the nuance of things like what's reported in the justice report numbers for parking and what that means. But hopefully pretty shortly we'll have that out there.
Great, thank you. The boiler installation was scheduled. Downey has been dealing with a high number of heat outages in homes, so we got bumped down the list a bit since we're not urgent, but it will, as soon as it can get to us, it'll be in. And then I attended a press conference today with the governor and the president of MTA and the president of Metro North and our Putnam County representative to the MTA board, Neil Zuckerman, the supervisor and the mayor of Beacon, at the Garrison train station, talking about recognizing the upgrades that have been done at the Garrison station through the capital plan. I'm hoping that we can get on their next 5-year capital plan for improvements to the station here in Cold Spring. So we need to actually make a communication about that on my follow-up list. But also I was encouraged that there was a lot of conversation from the governor and from the two presidents about river rise and addressing river rise and climate planning. I felt very encouraged, but it's the first time I've seen, MTA and Metro North really robustly talking about it out loud. So it was good. And they brought Governor Hochul her own special car down the track. It's quite something. Let's see. We have board business next. There are a few items. For Irene, I did not realize that she was here last week to ask about, I would have done that first if I realized she was asking there for a request and we're sitting through all of that discussion. So, the Boy Scouts, would like to do their annual, they usually do a fundraiser of some sort at the bottom of Main Street and on the visitor platform. Instead of trees this year, they're asking to do a bake sale and bird seed sale from 9:45 on Saturday, the 14th. They don't need anything from us, just permission to use the area. Is that right? Saturday, yeah, Saturday, the
Saturday.
14th, halfway through the month. Discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the bake sale on 12/14 Lower Main Street from the Boy Scouts of America, or the Scouts of America.
Oh, right, so not the Boy Scouts
The
anymore.
Boy
Sorry, I have to
Scouts.
learn that, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Irene, if you're out there watching.
Sorry, the Girl Scouts also have not changed that.
Okay, so Bugsy put in a recommendation for the hiring of a seasonal labor. It's not entirely correct. He's calling it a newly created seasonal laborer position. It's not a newly created position. We have, savings in the budget from our current part-time worker who's been largely unavailable since the, budget year began. So we had that funding, and then in years past, we've taken on an additional plow driver, through the winter. So this takes those two pots of money and allows Bugsy to bring on someone else for 20 hours a week. I will say that, Greg and the officer in charge and Bugsy did an excellent job with, preparation for interviews and went through some really strong candidates, and Bugsy landed on Joseph Sarcone. And he's recommending that we hire him at a rate of 22 an hour for the duration of the seasonal position, up a little bit to incentivize taking the part-time work, and also he has a CDL, right? Yes. CDL license. Discussion?
What is duration of the seasonal position?
It usually goes through the end of March.
And
Whenever it snows.
is this,
Yeah,
and I didn't quite follow, is this just a new position, or is this annual, like every year we hire?
every year we
someone?
hire an additional person to plow.
Okay,
Mo's position, the part-time position, he is largely unable to come in as he used to. We used to get him for about 16 hours a week. And he has not been able to do that. So it's taking the hours that were allocated to Mo
okay,
and combining it with the money that we already budgeted for plow. So this person will be the fourth plower
okay.
and will be available 20 days a week, 20 hours a week, actually here, coming in.
So this is not the part-time, or not part-time, but full-time, I think, maintenance person that we
No, it is not.
plans to start halfway through the year.
Correct.
So that's,
Correct.
we're not discussing that yet, this is.
Nope, this is taking two existing budget lines and putting them into one person who can do both things.
Okay.
With savings from the prior part-time position. So I would make a motion to accept Bugsy's recommendation to hire Joseph Sarcone at a rate of $22 an hour for the duration of the seasonal position. Favor?
Aye.
Okay, now Greg, I'm gonna need your help explaining this one because I didn't actually get to discuss it with Matt. We have another repair that we need to make.
So we have another repair we need to make at the water treatment plant. This is for a turbine pump, it's my understanding. And it's from a sole source distributor. So this distributor is the only distributor in North America that's selling this. And we need it.
Interesting how this seems to be the case with so many elements of water and sewer, that there are so few suppliers.
So with a lot of industrial equipment, you'll find that there is a singular focus. And that's typically by design, right? You get the patent, you
Yeah,
line up
that
who
makes
your
sense.
distributors are, and then you only work with those distributors in particular geos to minimize competition, cannibalizing your own customers.
Got it. So this is something that broke, and it's an urgent
It broke, it's urgent. He actually asked for it last week.
Okay,
So we're getting to it.
okay. Any discussion or questions for Greg? If he can answer them? And Matt's not with us, right? No. Okay, well, would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the purchase of the Tis Sales 6-inch Neptune turbine in the amount of $3,205.13.
Second.
Okay,
Aye.
Hi.
okay. Any close? Okay, so we have one item left on the agenda, we have no bills this week, right? So, and that is the draft generic environmental impact statement for Fjord Trail. It's been released, it's made available electronically last Wednesday, and I don't know if the camera can catch it, but we have two paper copies here in the village. They're giant. One is the document itself, and the other is the appendices that support the document. It's clunky. You are welcome to come look at it here if you need a paper copy, but it can't leave the building. We are not very well set up for copying here, and it's a giant bind. So we're gonna recommend that if you wanna make copies, that you do it at the public library, so we're not,
Because they also have a copy.
they have a copier that's open to the public and, it's not right in the doorway.
And they have a copy of.
They do have a copy, they have a copy of, it's at, I don't have the
Don't
list.
take
with
ours
me.
to the library.
It's in Garrison Library. Thank you for clarifying. It's at both libraries, I think it's in Garrison too, right? Town Hall, both village halls, and then I don't remember the other list, but it is here if you want to look at it. It's also quite, you can print from the online version if you want to see sections of it and print at home. So what we need to talk about tonight is how we're going to, as a body, respond. Oh, and I just also want to make clear that there is a public hearing. There are two public hearings being held on a single day, January 14th. They are via Zoom. The DEC is leading them at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. You can find information on the New York State Parks website, and on the HHFT website. The public comment can be submitted in writing through February 2nd. And unless there's an extension of that review period, everybody has to make these deadlines work. It's very tight. It's holiday time, but that's what we have to work with right now. Under seeker, the lead agency can extend the period of review up to 120 days. So one of the things I want to talk about tonight is that something that we as a municipality would like to request.
May I make just a clarification on the online, from what I understand, if you want to participate in the Zoom session, in the public sessions, and you want to
Oh, you
speak,
need
you
to
have
register,
to
right?
register in advance.
Thank you for
So
clarifying.
don't just show up and expect to speak. You won't be on the list, but I think anybody who wants to can register.
And it is, I think there is a 3-minute time limit, like a standard public meeting, but you're right, there is pre-registration. Thank you. Okay. So where are we? In previous, the village has not had a project of this scale ever, and probably will never again, but we have had some large scale projects under seeker review. And we have in the past sought input from the standing boards, planning, zoning, and HDRB, and their areas of purview. So a link has been forwarded to the chairs with a request for standing boards. So asking them to look at the document from their areas of purview, and obviously only for portions of the proposal within the village boundary. As with previous reviews, standing board, the consensus on the board isn't necessary for them to provide comments. They can tell us whatever it is their response is, whether or not, they can let us know if they have consensus or if there are opposing opinions, etc. But it should just reflect whatever feedback members feel is important and relevant and would help this board in formulating the village's response. And it may be that given time, we're simply compiling, agreeing on a covering memo and compiling what we've got. We'll talk about that too. So I've asked the standing boards with holidays to get back to us by the 17th of January. So they obviously they need to get through the holidays too. We all need time to read. That gives us 2 Wednesdays in January to discuss and decide about how the response will take form. So now is our time to be reading. 2, so we're ready. I'm sorry, my stomach can probably be heard in Zoom land, sorry. Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services is reviewing the DGEIS from perspective of public safety. I believe Barbara Barosa said the planning board is having a look too. I did contact the village attorney, about the DGEIS and, his potential role. He can advise on process and communicate to the lead agency if we wish him to. But in his view, and mine as well, is it'd be an inefficient and very expensive use of his time to have him going through the document. He's not a content expert. So the first question is, how are we feeling about that? Not having the village attorney review in detail, but if we have process questions. Okay. None of us, however, are content experts either, and I do think that we need to help reviewing it, to make sure that we capture all of the things that need to be noted from a village perspective. I contacted Ted Fink of Green Plan, who has been our consulting planner on the comp plan, the LWRS, and the zoning change of 2 years ago, and asked him to provide an estimate. First of all, was he available? And he is. He did send a proposal, but very late in the day, so I haven't had time to read it either. So I say that I don't want to make a decision on that tonight, but it's available for all of us. He gave some numbers. He estimated about $8,500. And one of the things that we might want to consider is, would it make sense for us to work with Phillipstown and Nelsonville to share that cost? Throwing it out there. But first, before we go into any discussion of that, everybody needs time to read what he's proposing for a review. He estimated 45 hours for review of the 1,500 pages. He does have some concerns about the deadline already, given the timing, the release in relation to the holidays, the amount and complexity of documentation, the availability of the paper, the later availability of the paper document, and the functionality of the electronic version that's available on the lead agency's website. Say that if you've looked at both of them, there is greater functionality on HHFT's website, but that is not the lead agency. We'll take that up again. Please have a read of his proposal. Take up the question of him. So that leaves us with a couple of decisions and discussions and decisions tonight. And one is the extension of time. Do we want to make a request for extension of time? And how do we want to work through developing comment?
Okay, just an organizational question about the board. So January has 5 Wednesdays. The first one is January 1st. We're not going to meet. I think traditionally we wouldn't meet in the last one because it's the 5th Wednesday.
No, but we could,
But
that
we
could be an
could.
additional session if we,
Just to be clear about how many weeks we might be talking about.
I think the only Wednesdays left after the 17th are the 22nd and the 29th.
Right.
And I think part of the length of our discussion about comment depends on how the board feels about formulating consensus around comment. I think 2 sessions, where it's gonna be very difficult with the range of views on the board to achieve consensus. And it seems more realistic to me to compile comment and agree on a delivery memo. Do others have?
I mean, realistically, let's discuss the first meeting, and then look at draft document on the second meeting, come to and vote on it. I mean, there's not, with only 2 meetings.
Yeah.
That's how I think it would have to be, and I think and it would be great if we could come to consensus, but I think we have to be prepared for having a structure that reflects where we, reflects the range of our views.
And I did discuss that with the village attorney, and that is an appropriate way for an agency to proceed. Go ahead.
Also,
Louise.
does that mean that like both of those meetings were just focusing on this?
I mean, we can't, we have too much business
Right.
every week to
So-
just focus on that.
I see. So I think, I mean, given that consensus or not, given that just the timing, I feel like we need more time. I mean, I just don't see, with the amount of work that we have to do, that is just as important as the review of this quite lengthy document. I think we need to like be mindful of the workload.
So are you advocating for requesting an extension?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, of course, it's not up to us, right? I mean. and-
Advocating for an extension is up to us. Whether they give it to us is,
Understand, I wasn't finished my thought.
well, I'm clarifying my statement.
Okay. I think we need to plan, well, by the current schedule.
Yeah, we do.
And if we get more time, then we can use it as we wish. Right? Is there a deadline to request for more time?
No, but the attorney and Ted Fink did recommend that we make the request too sweet, like make a decision tonight and make a request.
In his, oh, go ahead.
I have a question. Do you have any sort of concept or idea of what our response length would be? Are we talking about like a 20-page document or like
have no
a
idea.
20-sentence document?
I have no idea. I mean, we're looking at a 1,500-page
Right.
document. I have no idea. It depends on what questions and comments you all come up with as you review. I mean, we're all gonna have to do our own reading and thinking and then come together.
It's also not only us, it's the standing boards that have
standing boards.
been, that would send us their perspectives and that we would decide whether or not to include it as part of the village comment. So I expect that would make it longer. I feel like they're gonna give us.
They're gonna think of
Thoughtful
things that we don't
comments,
think of because they are content expert in their areas, experts.
I did get a chance to read, I have a long train ride, Ted Fink's proposal, and he identified as part of the proposal that he could help us write a letter requesting an extension if we wanted that. So, the downside of waiting until next week to review this and vote is that then maybe we don't get his help writing.
Well, I mean, that could be separate, if we wanted his help doing that, it could be separated as a task, a one-off.
Yeah.
Task for him to do.
He makes, he really makes the point that he understands the secret process. And so he kind of speaks the language and understands how to position requests within their framework. And I think that that's helpful for us if we want to move forward, at least in.
I agree.
With a letter.
At least with the request, you mean.
Yeah.
So I guess I
What
would,
is he, I'm sorry,
Oh, sorry, go
question. I have not read his
yeah,
proposal,
it came
but,
quite late in the day.
what is his timeline for starting last week? Like, how does this?
I mean, as quickly as possible, because he's got to get through all of that too.
Yeah.
So, but I don't, do others feel comfortable voting on that tonight? I don't feel comfortable necessarily voting on that tonight.
No.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Unfortunately, yeah. I don't think it's wise.
And how do we is there kind of some feedback about the idea of potentially approaching a cost sharing with the town and the village of Nelsonville to make it more affordable for us and less of a chunk out of our budget?
I actually think that's not appropriate considering we have different statuses within the,
We are the same as the town. We are both involved agencies.
you said Nelsonville, though, didn't you?
Nelsonville is an interested agency, but,
I'm sorry,
but
can you restate your proposal? I didn't understand.
I was proposing to combine with Nelsonville and Phillipstown to pay for this service. You raised the point that we have different statuses. I was making clear that the town and the village are both, have the same status as involved agencies, although I will say the definition of our involvement from a regulatory perspective is super limited. It's potential approval for possible sidewalk improvements. It's not much of an acknowledgement of village, what the village will be facing or what the village will be thinking about as this project goes forward. But the town and the village certainly could, if you were concerned about that status, the town and the village could certainly,
I think I would like to read the green plan proposal before making a decision
I'm
about.
not asking to make a decision. I'm asking for feedback on that question.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I like the idea of cost sharing because I think this is expensive
Yeah.
for something that's like not our project. We have so many projects we need money
Right.
for. But I am concerned about like efficiency and time management. And I know that when you throw more cooks into the pot, the time gets longer and longer. So adding the town's comments in with the villages and the
No,
villages.
That's not necessarily what the town as its own agency has to submit its own comment.
Mhm.
If they want to contract with Ted to prepare something, my understanding is that they are working with their village attorney to be preparing. What we would share with them is the analysis of the document, not the preparation of the comment.
I feel pretty strongly that if we are contracting with somebody to analyze the document, if we decide to do that, it has to be from the village's point of view and the village's interest. And expanding that to include the town, which is much larger, which includes a larger portion of the trail and maybe different interests. I don't know. I'm not on the town board. Or Nelsonville, which is yet another constituency. It would end up possibly watering down for the same price, watering down the analysis, so it'd be less focused on.
No, that's a good
Yeah,
point. That's a
and
good point.
diluting his work scope.
So where would
too.
you,
So
go
the
ahead.
cost would go up.
well, potentially. I was just throwing it out as an idea. That's not an unreasonable thought, Erin.
And I think part of what, at least the point that he makes, is that he knows Coldspring well. And, from past work and may not know Nelsonville and Phillipstown and doesn't really have the time to come up to speed on them, so. For what it's worth, I mean, it's a significant amount of money, but that he could see what he lays out of what he is prepared to do in 45 hours. I don't want to do that. I mean, that is far more than I could do. And, so, I look forward to discussing this next week because I think it's, some expert additional hands under a tight time crunch, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and he's gonna see things that we don't see, but also I think his ability to prepare a response efficiently will be greater than ours because he's been part of this process over and over again. All right, so we're tabling the proposal, but it sounds like it's just sort of a straw vote. Are individual trustees inclined to work with the planner so that I can give him a sense and feedback tomorrow?
I think I have to look at that.
Yes, I know you need to look at it. I'm asking for the concept. And we're not taking a
Conceptually,
vote.
I think, I will say, I'm interested in what he has to say, but I would
Okay.
like to read it.
Absolutely. And you, it sounds like you are
I read it
interested.
in-
Yeah,
I'm
Wait,
worried.
I'm sorry, I'm listening to Eliza.
I'm on the fence. I need to like understand what he's offering.
Okay,
So.
sure. Go ahead, Aaron.
I did notice $8,500 would be the cost.
I said that already.
Budgeted, so it's, I am concerned about that.
Right, and so the thing you have to balance that against is the cost of unmitigated impacts that we don't identify in the document, what that's gonna cost long range in the scale of this development. And sometimes, just like we pay our attorney, you're preventatively spending. This is the largest development the village has ever seen and will likely ever see. And I feel very strongly that we need assistance. And of course, I don't love spending the money. That's why I threw out the idea of cost sharing, but I take your points about why that might not be a good idea. This is it's a cost of doing business as a municipality. And it's a cost that we're not choosing. But I believe it's important for the village to have the expertise it needs to make good choices. So have a read of it and we'll, come back together with it on the agenda next week. I will ask the question of, would he be able to separate off if we wanted help with a request for an extension? So that's our last discussion item is, request for extension. Thoughts?
Yes.
Sweeps, it's
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, I mean, I think more time, I mean, look, it is the holidays. I can just say for myself, like, I'm very busy during this time and I don't have the extra bandwidth to do the required review that would take, that I would have had to have started last week. I think I'm not speaking for anyone else, I'm just speaking for myself, but I mean, I think it's a lot to ask anybody, even villagers who are just interested in the topic and want to look at it and have an informed decision and comment. And I think they deserve the time to review the document as well. It's a lot to digest and it's a complicated document. So I think, while I appreciate that we finally have something to look at, but I think the timing is not great. And that unfortunately doesn't seem to have been considered, but I think if they're open to it, I would like to request that time. Or even if they're not open to it, I would like to
You'd still
request
like
that
to
time.
request it.
Yeah.
Others?
I'll say that I agree with you, Kathleen, that this is a super important document, so, I've made it a priority to begin launching into it. I'm about 20% through reading the main document so
God
far.
bless.
It's not a competition, I'm not,
You're right.
right? But I think it is, for me, really important to be familiar with it. I'm like the PDF because I'm able to highlight and refer back to the highlights and make my own notes and comments while I'm doing that, which is gonna be helpful later to go back through. So I'm actually gonna end up doing 2 passes, right? One to highlight significant areas and one to go back again and read those and summarize. So, but I expect I'll be done with my first pass just within a week or so. So, again, not a competition. Other people have different schedules and lives and.
Right, other people carry different weights of responsibility on the village board.
I'm not
So
sure
I
what
think
you mean.
I think you know exactly what I mean.
No, I would like you to explain it
I'd be
very
happy
clearly to
I'd
me
be
right
happy to,
now
Erin.
in public.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe that you have the luxury of time to dive into that document to the degree you have already, because you're not helping carry much weight on other elements of village work. You were asked in August to help us with the film.
I don't see
follow-up.
why this is
I'm
relevant.
speaking right
I
now.
don't see
I'm
why this is
speaking right now.
relevant.
Excuse me. You were asked to do that in August. You've not done it. So yes, you have more time available. The others of us who are actually doing project work and doing the work that runs the municipality, including the staff, don't have that time available. So God bless and good luck on your expedited review. Laura?
I would like to say really
Go
quickly.
go ahead.
I think you're being very rude, disrespectful to somebody who is on your board and who represents the public right now. So I really don't appreciate it. This is not the first
I
time
don't
you've been
appreciate that you're
rude.
not carrying your.
I'm sorry, you're interrupting me now.
Go ahead.
I think this is not the first time you have been rude. And I think that doesn't serve anybody when you're like that. So it
Okay.
embarrasses me and I think it has a disrespect
should.
to the people of Cold Spring with your behavior.
Okay, really noted. Thank you. Laura?
So I think we all have different paces at which we are reading and analyzing the document, but we need to think not only about ourselves as the board members, but also our residents who are very clearly are very interested in this project. And who have waited a long time have been very patiently waiting for the EIS. And so I think like adding another 60 days to what is already a really extended project in the end, for the kind of like public engagement that we've heard from HHFT and the project that they is really important to them. I think that is a respectful request to make of them, and I think it aligns with, again, what they have, said that the project is, a kind of tenet of the project. So, so I'm certainly in favor, both for, the work of our board and of our standing boards that we're asking of them to do an even more expedited review to get it to us earlier, but also for our residents to be able to, give a substantial review.
I can understand why people might want more time. It's a huge document. People read at different speeds. People have busy lives. I also am really concerned with the enormous distraction that this causes the village, taking us away from like our actual work, you know, as Tweeps mentioned. You could say you need an extension for that, but I would say the more time it has, the less time we have to work on real village work that is, I mean, this is also real village work. I'm not trying to undermine that.
Yeah, thank you.
But like the stuff that we have control over and that is our labor to do and carry and that is our projects. Those are the things that I think it should be our priority. And I know that the longer this thing goes on, the less time and energy we will have for those things. And so I think extending it 60 days during budget season is not a great idea because we actually have to do the budget and that takes up every inch of my time when we're doing budget season. So, I mean, I could see maybe a partial extension, but I think 60 days, especially at that time period, is not wise for us doing our work.
Understood. Well articulated. I think, though, we do have to remember that the request would be made not only on behalf of our board, but as Laura pointed out, on behalf of everyone who's needing to review this document. So we can make choices about how much time we spend as a board having conversation. I think we all need time individually to do the reading before we can even have a board discussion. So, you know, some of it is how much time does the board spend and how much of that time do each of us need to balance out with all of the other things we're doing, being able to get through the document. Go
I
ahead.
still think it's reasonable to say we're gonna spend 2 meetings
I
doing
do
it.
too. I do too.
And not like, I hear you about kind of like a suitcase, you know, you like fill the suitcase. But we just, as Erin pointed out with the calendar, we just committed to a 5th Wednesday, which I know we all try our best to avoid, but that's what we would have to do given this calendar, which also like impacts staff. It would give the standing boards a little bit longer before they would, you know, have to kind of crunch in the first couple weeks of January to produce something for us, so.
And they're balancing looking at this with their own board work as well. We're not the only ones who are having to do that. Okay, so I would make a motion to submit a request to extend the review period to 120 days. Have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Aye, nay. I say nay.
I think the ayes have it.
Thank you. Okay, that's the last item on our agenda. So Greg has submitted questions that everyone submitted for our infrastructure session. And infrastructure / I had also asked, I think some of the staff is still here, Emily and Lori. I had asked that in addition to infrastructure, we could have an explanation from someone with expertise regarding the phasing of the project and why Little Stony Point to Dockside can't be a phase on its own. So I'm hoping that you're going to be bringing something with you who can respond to those questions as well. Greg has sent them. It's the only item on our agenda next week, with the exception now of green plan, unless anything else.
I just looked at our food scraps MOU with the IMA, and it does end at the end of the year. It needs to be a written extension. So if I can organize that quickly, it would be a very quick agenda item.
We do have one planning board resolution to approve.
Oh, yes, and we do have a planning board resolution. So maybe folks want to I don't know what capacity people have to start a little earlier. Do you want to start at 6:30 or is it's too difficult for folks to get here by then?
This meeting for next week is scheduled from 7 to,
We haven't set a time on it. We can set a time if you'd like to do that.
I think that would helpful.
I think there are a lot of, people submitted a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of them are interrelated, so it may be that in conversation they're addressed
I don't think I
across.
saw the document that was sent with all of the questions compiled. Can you send that to the trustees, please?
Mhm.
Thank you.
It's literally what everyone submitted, cut and pasted into a single document. Okay, so an hour and a half.
And the format of this meeting is for us to ask them the
They
questions, we will
offered
get
to
them in
do,
advance.
they have the questions in advance. They offered to do a workshop with us to address the question of potential in quotes, infrastructure investments that HHFT would consider in the village of Cold Spring. Okay, so we have submitted in advance questions specific to that topic. And I expect that it will be either, they can choose whether it's a question by question response or if they want to do a presentation incorporating the questions, but I do anticipate that in one way or another, all of the questions will be answered. It's not a public hearing. We can decide whether or not to take public comment. Frankly, I'm gonna be honest, I feel that the work of that meeting is hearing from HHFT and having direct conversation with their staff, which we have not had the benefit of in some time. I think that right now, listening to opinions on the fjord trail isn't necessarily the best use of our time. If we were to do public comment, I would recommend limiting it to what was discussed in the evening. Well, we certainly, that's the option, or we decide not to take public comment. It's not a public hearing. This is a working session of the board hearing from HHFT. How do others feel about that? About public comment?
I would support not having public comment on this session because, it will become an opinion session. And we've heard a lot of opinions and we've done that. So.
And I want our time to be spent actually having conversation about the topic.
Great.
Does anyone have concerns with that?
No, I think that's fair. I think you bring up a good point. I also don't want it to devolve into, a sparring session.
Yeah, I don't
and
either.
Like back and forth. I just don't have I don't think that's the best use of our time.
No, it's certainly not. It's not the best use of HHFT's time as well. We want to hear what they're putting forward. Okay. So say that again, we've got the IMA, potentially the IMA update. We've got a proposal from the planning board, which was received today and needs to be distributed related to a parking waiver, right?
Green plan.
And the green plan topic.
And also maybe the sidewalk pedestrian thing for the Putnam County.
I think that's too much next week.
Which
That's
pretty basic. It's stuff that we've seen over and over again, so there's no
Yeah.
surprises there.
We have a month to send it to her, so we can do
Okay,
it
so we could put it back later.
early
Okay.
January. Thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
Okay, so with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.